and what we hope to accomplish and what we've done so far. And then I want to get your ideas for what you'd like to see at the retreat center, as well as ideas for people that we should contact or people that you can contact. And then, if this is feeling really alive for you, ask for a financial contribution to help us get this off the ground. So this started about 2 years ago. A mutual friend introduced Valerie and I, and having heard that Valerie had a vision for a women's retreat center where women could come and find solitude and get away from their hectic, busy lives and the demands of their jobs and their families or aging parents or all of the things that women balance and juggle all the time, where they could come and find their center and have a place to recharge and refresh themselves. And so our friend introduced us a couple of years ago, and I instantly knew that this was a big yes for me and joined her. And so we've been working together for that period of time. We now have, it's gone from 2 of us to, we have 3 committees that are very active. So we have 25 women working on committees on a very regular basis. We have about 100 women on an email list that want to be kept informed of every step of the way. And we have about 300 people on our Facebook site. So we're really starting to broaden the people that know about this. And people are so excited. It's like the time is so ripe for something like this. And people go, of course, Vashon is the place for a women's retreat center. Of course, it has to be here. So we feel like we're just midwifing an idea that wants to happen, and we're going to help it happen. And we have gotten so much excitement and support from women and men along the way. It's really building, and it's getting more and more exciting. So in this last 2 years, we have accomplished a lot in addition to getting our volunteers and fundraising and our committees going. We have a very dynamic circle of directors, which is what we call our board. And we are getting nonprofit status with the IRS. We've been given verbal approval of that. And we have just heard from King County that they're going to allow us to build a retreat center on Vashon in a rural residential zone. So we've been doing due diligence with getting some governmental agencies on board and making sure it's feasible. And Valerie's been documenting all of the due diligence that we've been doing so far. Would you like to speak to that a little bit?
Certainly, and I don't think that I've even been able to capture it all, but we created a due diligence document in part for our circle of directors, just so that we can have a sense of how much has been accomplished over the last couple of years. And it was really helpful for me to begin to put it together, because it feels like something that we've been working on a long time, and we take these steps, and Pam and I meet together once or twice every week, and we do things, and you don't realize how much of the groundwork is getting
We've been very
laid.
busy.
Yeah. And because we're not able to fund this ourselves, our hope is that we will be able to find someone on the island who has land and or means, and he or she really, this is something that really touches his or her heart, and may not have the capacity to create it, but has the capacity to endow it. But we couldn't do that until these 2 things that Pam had just talked about the 501c3 status and making sure that in fact we could build what we wanted to build. So those 2 things take some time. But while we were doing those things and letting those happen as they needed to, there was so much else that we could do, particularly around design. And so the design committee, which has been probably our most dynamic one, they just love themselves because they're doing such a great job. They created, at our request, the visual board over there, just so that people can see what we see in our minds about what this place can be like. And they're going to be holding a charrette this year. It's one of their charges, where they're going to be bringing in all kinds of people who can help us really understand what needs to be done. And their view is that this place is going to be a model for sustainability, for beauty, for inspiration, and very much a part of this island. And so the concept of it is to not is to really support the island and the island to support it. And it was interesting. And when I moved out here, I didn't think about this place. Hey, Abby. This as the perfect place, and one day it just dawned on me that of course it is. In particular because although we have wonderful men on the island, but we also have wonderful women on the island, and it seemed like getting to be able to capture their energy and also support their businesses and their endeavors and the things that are important to them, that there's a really synergistic relationship between what we're doing and what they're doing. Mm-hmm. So it's been a pleasure, but we. So there's still a lot to be done, but we've really built the base for it to take off, I think, pretty quickly.
And we're getting a lot of support, and we're planning things that support island businesses as well. A lot of caterers and practitioners and designers and people who are here will be supported by this facility. So it'll be sustainable not only physically, but energetically and financially as well. And
one of our events that we're doing is both a fundraiser, but also all of our fundraising is meant to be really just even more so just to let people know about us. And in fact, that's how we found Rini, was when we were doing our yard sales, that she had heard about it and she wanted to get involved, and she said, this is what I've been looking for. And that seems to be what the process has been for almost everyone who's involved. It's just, this is something that I need to do in all kinds of different ways. So our circle talks a lot about why each one of us has gotten called to this. And we have some overlap, but we also have some really unique things that this is helping us do. So for example, one of our circle members, she's very reluctant to do fundraising, but she wanted to. And we had asked them to write letters to some of their friends and acquaintances, as Pam and I have done. And she's an artist on the island, just an amazing person, but for her, she's never done anything like that before, never asked people for money. And she needed to really feel this project. And the other day at our circle meeting, she finally got to a place where she could write something about it. And one of the things and it was made me cry, and then I read it to Pam and made both of us cry. And we had to have somebody else read it at the meeting so we didn't cry in the meeting. But amongst the many things that she talked about, one of the things that really resonated with me and is important about this project is that she said, we're doing something on faith. We have some abilities from our careers and our lives to be able to do some parts of this, but a lot of it we really don't know. We haven't known what we're doing. We've had to figure it out as we're going along. And that is sort of a leap of faith. And in leaps of faith, because you're leaping, you tend to get afraid. And so she talked about how this project is for her in some ways facing fears and just saying, I have these fears, but I'm going to do it anyway. And for me, that's been a lot of this project, that there's something about it. Pam had it in her mind for some time, and it actually came into my mind when my son was 1 and now he's 13. And we had a pretty tough first year also. My son was born with some birth defects that needed surgery. So in the first year he had 3 surgeries, lots and lots and lots of visits to the doctors. And I was pretty exhausted by the end of the first year, and I got a chance to go to a conference. I'm a professor, and I was at an academic conference, but it was at the Coeur d'Alene Hotel, and so there was a little bit of a retreatness to it, and it was the first time I had been in a bed in a room by myself. I got to sleep the whole night, and I went and got a massage, and I was sitting in the room looking out over the water, and this retreat center, and I'd never been to a retreat center, didn't really know anything about retreat centers because I hadn't really started my own spiritual journey at that stage. It just sort of appeared to me in real detail. Like I could see very specific kinds of things, and it was about giving women a space to just be quiet and deal with whatever they need to deal with, whether it's grief or whether it's confusion or whether it's a big change that they want to make in their lives. And it really touched me, but I didn't know what to do with it. And so I put it away for a long time. I was a pretty new professor at the time and had a lot of work to do. And then after I moved here, at some point it just came up again, and I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it anyway. And the next week I got to meet Pam. So there was a lot of serendipity around it.
And there has been, there continues to be a lot of serendipity. And one of the things that we want to offer women is both a place to come and be alone and spend time and find their center and have the solitude to recharge, but also to connect and to have a bathhouse and to have a dining room and to have workshops and trainings and yoga and meditation and places where they can come together. So even though we don't have land yet, and we've looked, I think, at 6 parcels so far, and they're getting closer and closer to the right thing, we have developed a site plan because we want to separate the busyness from the serenity so that women can have both of those experiences as well as the bathhouse. And we're hoping to offer annual memberships to island women so they can just come and sit in the hot tub and take a sauna whenever they want and gather and
or
walk
even,
on the trails.
Yeah, or we're going to have a library and a sanctuary. And I was telling somebody about this, and she said, oh my God, I want to go right now.
Yeah.
And just even the thought of it, knowing that it existed on the island and that she could at any stage just kind of come over there and it would be there, and that there would be other women that she really liked who would be there too, it gave her a sense of peace.
Yeah,
sort of
that's part of the whole serenity. But then we also want to make sure that we can offer it to women who can't afford it. So we want to have scholarships, we want to have a philanthropic arm where we can help women's initiatives and even global women's foundations and reach out in that way. But one of the things that we're looking at right now on the program committee is trying to figure out the criteria in which to screen different offerings. This fundraiser in the spring that Valerie's talking about, a Women's Day of Wellness, we're going to have a lot of movement classes as well as lectures and food and different healing practitioners there.
Including Abby Carter.
Including Abby Carter, thank you very much. And we want this to be the first foray of Hestia into the community. This is what it's going to look like. This is what it's going to feel like. This is what we're going to be offering.